coast of Nova Scotia can be a rugged, windy, harrowing place. Cold Atlantic waves crash against massive, sweeping tracts of granite, carved smooth by glaciers and stripped bare of soil by erosive wind and salt spray, leaving us with this eerie, otherworldly landscape. It's known as the coastal barrens, and the carpet of plants that clings to it is stubborn, short, and stunted. But it also has to be very well adapted for an unforgiving life. That adaptation can take a lot of different forms. Lichens have evolved so many tricks for obtaining nutrients, including dissolving rocks with acid, that they can live directly on the granite. Plants that do make use of the thin layer of soil that's available, like blueberry or juniper bushes, deploy wide, shallow root systems to anchor themselves and grow small, waxy leaves to conserve water. But then, scattered across the landscape, you'll also see these. Clusters of little maroon umbrellas popping up above the scrub. They're the flowers of the purple pitcher plant, which might win the contest for wildest adaptation to life in the coastal barrens. Faced with so few nutrients available in the soil, they've turned to another source: bugs. They're one of the few carnivorous plant species, like Venus flytraps or sundews. That's why they hold their flowers so high up on stalks, and why they give off a citrusy smell to guide helpful pollinators and make sure they don't end up in the pitcher below. That pitcher is the really astounding part. It's built of specially shaped leaves to catch and retain rainwater. The rim is covered in a sweet nectar to attract other bugs. When they land to eat it, the waxy sloped surface slides them down into the water, and downward-facing hairs on the inside of the pitcher keep them there, trapped. Already pretty cool for a plant, but that's barely breaking the surface. Pitcher plants just get more amazing the closer you look. Because what we've got right now is a bug in some water. How does that translate to this plant getting the nutrients it needs? That's where things get really nuts. It turns out that there is a whole world in those few centimeters of water, a complete multi-layer ecosystem entirely within the pitcher plant's pitcher. That ecosystem is built around 3 larvae, of a mosquito, a midge, and a fly. They each inhabit a distinct layer. At the top are the more aggressive fly larvae, who go after the bugs that have just landed in the water. As they tear apart the prey, pieces fall to the bottom, where the midge larvae go to work on them. And in between, any bits tiny enough to float up or down through the middle get picked off by mosquito larvae. And it might seem like they're all stealing the plant's meal, but it's actually a symbiotic relationship. They break down the pitcher plant's prey for it, both by tearing it into smaller pieces and, yes, excreting it. But even that is just one layer of the pitcher plant ecosystem. See, those mosquito larvae may be last in line on the larva food chain, but zoom in again and they're the apex predator. In a whole smaller world of critters, rotifers, mites, protozoans, bacteria, all in their own complex web of predator, prey, and detrivore, all contributing ultimately to the pitcher plant's digestion. Pretty incredible plant, and incidentally, an incredible resource for scientists. See, ecosystems are really hard to study. They're chaotic, enormously complex, and impossible to isolate. Meanwhile, science needs clean, replicable experiments to prove or falsify hypotheses. But on an ecosystem level, you can't say just take all the elk out of Alberta to see what happens, or suddenly double the amount of sunlight while maintaining all other factors, and do it repeatedly to verify results. Pitcher plants, though, kinda give you that opportunity. They're obviously not going to be perfect analogs for any ecosystem, but they provide a tiny experimental world where you can actually say, what happens if we remove the apex predator from this system? Or what if we suddenly provide it with double its usual nutrients, and usefully extrapolate the results? After more than a century of study, pitcher plants are still surprising us, and are capable of helping us answer huge ecological questions. All in just a few centimeters of water. If you're enjoying these videos, consider throwing me a few bucks a month on Patreon. It is the best possible thing you can do to ensure that they will keep coming.